Alrighty guys, what is going up? Welcome back to the best investing money management channel on YouTube. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the absolute best fintech ETFs to buy this year. Now, for those of you that don't know what a fintech is pretty much what you call financial technology. Now, we all know these brick and mortar banks like Wells Fargo, like Chase, Credit Union, Comerica, all these banks that have super high overhead costs because they have all these brick and mortar places. Fintech is completely different. Now, they may have some locations, but it's not nearly as many as a lot of these, brick and mortar locations. These are going to be more geared towards online banking that allows you to do pretty much the exact same thing you do at a regular bank, but one, they have a lot more incentives. Two, you don't get charged a lot of the nasty fees. Three, you can use virtually hundreds of thousands of ATMs across the whole United States with no penalty. So I think that is definitely the shift. And for those of you that don't know what an ETF is pretty much just a pool of stocks together. So instead of picking and choosing, the absolute best stock, you can virtually just invest in the general sector and do very, very well. So the very first fintech ETF is a very, very popular one, FNX. This is Global X, fintech ETF. So the top three holdings for this one is Coinbase, PayPal, and Afterpay. Three of the top and most popular fintech, some of the most popular fintech stocks out there. You guys can see the absolute performance of this thing is very, very strong. It did crash here last March, went from around 34 down to 19. Once people realized, these online banks are actually not going to be hurting, they're going to be thriving, then this thing went all the way up to $52 with a total increase of around 170% in the matter of less than a year. This thing is growing very, very fast, and the fintech technology is doing very, very well. Now, moving on to stock number 2 is probably the most popular one out. It's ARK Innovations Fintech ETF, ARKF. So the difference between all of these is going to be the top 3 holdings that they have. Now, ARK is a fantastic ETF, right? It's sold off, brings a lot of opportunity. The year-to-date is pretty good, coming in at around 11% year-to-date. Does have a little high of an expense ratio at around 0.75. But the beauty of this one is this one has, the top holding is Square. Square is probably one of the fastest growing fintech stocks out there. It is a little more volatile, but it has a ton of growth. 2, it has digital retail plays, including the Canadian giant Shopify coming in at number 2, and a variety of other ones like Coinbase, Afterpay, and a lot of those too. So this one is fantastic. It has about 75 of the top, pretty much the most popular fintech stocks out there, but it's still one to keep an eye on here. Now, the next one here is ticker symbol IPAY, also known as IPAY. This one here is just another fintech ETF. It does have the same expense ratio as ARK, but the performance is not as strong, coming in at around 9% year to date. Now, this one does have a variety of companies that I think are very, very strong. Now, the very first one is PayPal and Square. So very similar to ARK and Global, these ones kind of combo them all together. So this has Square, PayPal, and then the top one of the top one is Visa and PaySign. So all these are some of the most popular and strongest financial technologies and some of the most popular and strongest companies out there. Visa is an absolute powerhouse. They have extremely high margins. They do very, very well, and they virtually have no debt, and the company just grows at an astonishing rate. Now, moving on to the next one here, we have ticker symbol TPAY, TPAY here. So this one does have the lowest expense ratio at around 0.4. But when you sacrifice that lower expense ratio, you also sacrifice a smaller year to date. Now, this one, about 50% of TPAY's revenue comes from electronic transaction processing. So this one has a variety of, it works with a variety of banks. It has a ton of awesome companies in it. Very similar to the other ones. It's just an absolute powerhouse. But this one here, it has a user-based payment app that has a lot of your bank accounts linked to it, so you can keep everything all in one and your client with them too. But now, probably the most popular growth stock out there. So if you guys don't want to pick and choose all of these, fantastic ETFs, one thing that you can do is just buy Vanguard's growth ETF. The reason why is because you're going to be sacrificing super high growth with a very low expense ratio. It's ticker symbol VUG here. This one is an absolute killer. It's a little more expensive, but the year to date is 23%, expense ratio at around 0.04, so like $4 for every 10,000 you have invested. Now the thing about this one, about 48% of all the holdings in this is technology, and the other half is really sectioned off into other sectors, but 48% is geared towards technology. So these are going to be companies that are still in that same realm. We'll have Square, we'll have PayPal, we'll have Apple, a lot of these companies that are absolute powerhouses too, but it's going to be expanded across a lot more of the other sectors, which is good and bad. But guys, that is it. These are the top absolute best fintech ETFs to buy. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and overall, I hope you guys got something of value, and we will see you guys later. Remember to stay happy, stay positive, and stay safe out there. Take care.